guys! So welcome back to our discussion video on one-sided limits. This is still Erica Enriquez and we proceed to part 2. In part 1, you have seen this useful tip, alright? And there we apply this tip for piecewise functions. For the second part, we will be tackling greatest integer functions. So here in my useful tip, binanggit ko lang rin na whenever you are being asked to find the standard two-sided limit of a function, and this function, it so happened na GIF siya, some limit as x approaches a ng GIF ng sum g of x. Pag ganito, there are times when nagiging ambiguous yung limit natin so that you need to consider one-sided limits here. And in my tip number 2, nakalagay dito when you will consider one-sided limits, that is whenever the value inside the greatest integer function is an integer. Take note only whenever integer siya. Why is it ambiguous kapag integer? Okay, if you check here sa ating graph, so this is the graph of our GIF. The graph of my GIF breaks sa integer values ng x. Say for example, ito si negative 1. If I know that my x approaches negative 1, kulang yung information ko to know the GIF of that. Kasi kung ina-approach si negative 1, I have to know at which side of negative 1 we are approaching. Because if, for example, I were to approach negative 1 sa right ng negative 1, for example, values here, tas yan, no? Close to negative 1 but sa right ng negative 1, ano ang GIF niyan? Okay? The GIF outputs the greatest integer less than or equal to yung particular number, negative 1, yung inyong GIF. However, if you are approaching negative 1 sa left side ng negative 1, so somewhere here ka, alright, ano ang GIF niyan? Not negative 1, ano? The largest integer that is less than yung numbers na yan ay in fact si negative 2. So that's the reason why kapag integers, you have to consider one-sided limits, no? Kasi for each side, magiging magkaiba yung value ng ating GIF. So just kindly take note of that. Here, if you check our exercises kasi for today, I didn't include two-sided limit anymore. No? Puro mga one-sided limits sila. But it's good to take note of that in case may lumabas sa inyong exercises. And here sa inyong left ay in fact the tips given to you whenever you have limits involving GIF. I will just recall them again as we go along our exercises. Sige, I go first sa number 1. So we are to get the limit as x approaches 2 from the right ng x squared minus 2x over the GIF of x minus x. Here, we see na yung function natin in fact involves a GIF. May mga ibang combination lang ng other functions. Whenever you have a GIF sa inyong limit, my number 1 tip for you is to always remember laging integer ang in-output niyan. Kaya for items 1 to 4 here, yung mga GIFs na yan ay mga integer lamang. So we have to rewrite them as an integer. Okay. However, ano yung integer na yun? It depends na dun sa value na ina-approach ng ating x. No? So x here assumes values to the right of 2 near 2. Okay. So given na ganon yung aking behavior ng x natin here, what is the behavior of the function inside my GIF? That's the next question kasi. Mula doon natin malalaman kung ano yung integer na ipang-re-write natin dito. Here though, medyo pinadali ang ating lives, no? Kasi yung function dito sa loob ng ating GIF for item 1 is just simply x lang rin. Kung ganito yung behavior ng x natin, edi yung x ay, well, ganun din yung behavior. It still approaches 2, okay, through values greater than 2. So take note ha, hindi 2 mismo yung value ni x, it only approaches 2. So an example of which could be 2.0001. Okay, ganon. Okay, ano ang GIF ng ganong value? 2. 2 in fact. So, yun yung ipag-rewrite nyo dito. Alright? So, this is the limit as x approaches 2 from the right. Copy ko muna x squared minus 2x and then over, I will rewrite my GIF now as its corresponding integer 2. And this, in fact, it falls under yung second bullet, item 1. No? So here, as x approaches a from the right, in this case, yung A natin ay si 2. Yung f of x being the function inside my GIF, na dito nagkataon x lang rin siya, okay, it also approaches some n, and in this case, yung n nga actually ay si 2 pa din sa right side ni 2. So dito siya nagfa-fall and nakalagay dito na n lang rin yung iti-take mo as the limit of the GIF of f. Kaya naging n lang din, si 2 lang din siya. So yes, nawala na ang ating problem, no? Nawala na ang ating GIF, no? And yeah, kaya natin itong ma-solve. If I substitute x equals 2 in my function here, okay, anong nangyayari? I have 4 minus 4 over 2 minus 2, that's 0 over 0. And this is in fact, again, an indeterminate form of type 0 over 0, no? So ideally, gusto mong makapag-cancel ng some x minus 2 sa taas at some x minus 2 sa baba. Na kaya naman here, no? You have an x minus 2 here above. You have an x minus 2 here below, but just the negative version of that. Okay lang rin, magka-cancel pa rin yun. Just bearing in mind that you have a factor of negative 1. What I get is negative x. So ang sagot here, if I let x be equal to 2, is in fact negative 2. And that's my final answer. Okay, sige, let's go to item number 2 here. So this is the limit as x approaches 2/3 from the right ng GIF of 1 minus 3x. So here it's just a straight GIF, no? Walang ibang functions involved unlike sa 1. However, medyo mas complicated ng slight yung function sa loob ng GIF. As I said, kapag may GIF, it is always an integer. So you have to rewrite this GIF as an integer, but saan natin huhugutin mula dito sa behavior ng ating x. Our x here approaches 2/3 sa right side ng ating 2/3. So it's this one. And then we ask, ano yung nagiging behavior ng function inside the GIF provided na ganito yung behavior ng ating x. Okay. 1 minus 3x here approaches what? So try lang rin muna i-substitute yung x equals 2/3 dito. Okay. What would that be? 1 minus 3 times 2/3, that's equal to negative 1. Don't make the mistake to quickly get the GIF of negative 1. Baka sabihin nyo, ay, negative 1. So sige, GIF ko yan, negative 1 yung sagot. No, because take note, 1 minus 3x only approaches negative 1. Malapit lang siya sa ating negative 1. Yun yung ina-assume niya na values. And in fact, you also need to know at which side of negative 1 we are approaching. So sa number line, nasaan ang negative 1 natin? Ito yung negative 1, ito yung 0, ito yung negative 2. Okay? If we assume values here to the right of negative 1 close to negative 1, so somewhere here, ano ang GIF niyan? Negative 1, no? However, kapag dito ka, nag-approach kay negative 1 sa left side ng negative 1, ang GIF niyan ay negative 2, in fact. No? So we have to know at which side we are approaching negative 1. Where do we get that? Alright, dito sa side at which x approaches 2/3. We know that our x approaches 2/3 sa right. Maybe you can try to consider a test value. So that is a value that is to the right of 2/3, near 2/3. So isipin natin siguro as a decimal si 2/3. 2/3 is 0.6 bar. It's a non-terminating decimal. A possible test value could be 0.67. If I substitute here 0.67 sa 1 minus 3x, so that's 1 minus 3 times 0.67. Paki-confirm na lang po, it is negative 1.01. Okay? And then we ask, where is negative 1.01 in relation to negative 1? Negative 1.01 is less than negative 1. So in fact, it's here. No? Dito siya sa left side ng ating negative 1. So that the superscript that we will write here is in fact negative. We are approaching negative 1 through values less than negative 1. So that, as I said kanina, what is the GIF of that? The GIF of that is in fact negative 2. Yun yung integer na ipang-rewrite natin dito. So we are taking the limit as x approaches 2/3 from the right of, in fact, just simply negative 2. And we know from our limit theorems before, the limit of a constant is just precisely that constant. And this is your final answer. So see here, kung we made the mistake of substituting x equals 2/3 here sa function mo at nag-turn out to be -1 kasi just quickly got the GIF of that. Mali yung sagot, no? Kasi -2 yung tamang sagot. This item number 2, it falls under yung second bullet case number 2. Okay, so we have a superscript here of negative, and so therefore the limit of the GIF is -1 minus 1. Nag-subtract tayo ng 1 dun sa -1. And so we get -2. So okay na ang 1 and 2 natin. Let's go to number 3. So here we are taking the limit as x approaches 3/4. In this case, sa left na. Okay, ng 1 minus 2x. If you try substituting x equals 3/4 here, what do I get? 1 minus 2 times 3/4. Saan yan equal to? It's a fraction, right? It's -1/2. And it's not an integer. Kapag non-integer yung pinapasok mo sa isang GIF, and that's the limit, hindi ambiguous yung definition ng GIF. So therefore, kapag rational, you can just straight away get the GIF of that rational number. The GIF of -1/2 is -1. Actually, limit as x approaches 3/4 from the left ng -1, pero idiretso ko na limit naman kasi nun ay -1 lang rin. So -1 yung final answer here. Item 3, choose ko rin siya so that it would fall under bullet number 1. Non-integer, it is not an integer. Like here, naging -1/2 siya. You just straight away get the GIF of yung nakuha mong limit. So tayo, strinate lang natin at make the GIF of -1/2. No need to consider the side at which we're approaching -1/2. Kahit plus kasi yan or minus, ganun pa rin, -1 pa rin naman ang GIF niya. There's no ambiguity involved. Okay, so we go to the last example here, si number 4. I won't give anymore the complete solution for number 4. You can just do that on your own, okay, as an enrichment. But I will give the final answer. Okay, the final answer that you should get is 0 dapat. Okay, so you can just ask your teacher, okay, how this works. You can confirm with him or her your solution, and what you should get is 0. Okay, so that's it for our discussion on GIF. Our third and last part will involve the radical function. Thank you for watching and see you there.